What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved actors completely loses it on late-night television? What you're about to see is not just awkward, it's perhaps the most explosive and uncomfortable interview in late show history. Danny DeVito and Stephen Colbert went from playful banter to a full-blown clash that left the studio frozen in silence. It was a Tuesday night taping of The Late Show. The energy was routine, the audience eager, the cameras rolling. Danny DeVito walked out with his signature swagger, there to promote his latest directorial project, a gritty indie film about corruption in small-town politics. But from the moment he sat down, something felt off. His usual mischievous charm carried a sharper edge, his eyes focused, his tone deliberate. Danny DeVito. Welcome back to the show, Colbert greeted with his polished grin. Always a pleasure to have you here. Stephen, good to be back. DeVito replied, settling into his chair. His words were polite, but his voice carried an edge the audience didn't immediately recognize. Although I've got to admit, after watching some of your recent shows, I'm not sure this is even the same program I used to enjoy coming on. Colbert's smile faltered for the briefest second. Well, we're always evolving here. That's what keeps things fresh. Right? Speaking of evolution, let's talk about your new film. You just did it. DeVito cut in, leaning forward. Ignored what I actually said. That's your thing now, isn't it? You ask, but you don't listen. The room shifted. Laughter trickled into an uneasy silence. I'm not sure what you mean, Danny, Colbert said with a strained chuckle. I think I'm a pretty good listener. Are you, though? DeVito shot back, his eyes narrowing. Because from where I sit, you've got your script mapped out before your guests even walk on stage. You don't care about the answers. You care about your next punchline. The audience stiffened. Camera operators exchanged nervous glances. Colbert's smile was slipping. That's quite an accusation, he muttered, his hands gripping the desk. Accusation. DeVito laughed harshly. Stephen, this isn't conversation anymore. It's performance. You're the star. Your guests are props, and the whole thing's just a setup for your viral clips. Whatever happened to late night being about discovery about people? Colbert's jaw tightened. This show has always been about entertainment, Danny. Sometimes that includes commentary. That's what the audience expects. No, DeVito snapped. They expect honesty. They expect you to actually give a damn about the people sitting in this chair. But you don't. You're too busy chasing ratings, polishing your image, rehearsing your clever comebacks. When did you get so scared of a real conversation that you hide behind jokes? Colbert's professionalism cracked. His voice dropped, sharp and cutting. I don't need career advice from someone who peaked with Batman Returns. The air vanished from the room. Gasps rippled through the audience. Crew members froze. DeVito's expression hardened, his voice lowering to a dangerous whisper. Peaked, Stephen, I was making films before you even knew what a camera was. I've told stories that mattered, stories that stayed with people. What have you done lately, besides kiss up to celebrities and sneer at anyone who doesn't share your politics? Colbert fired back, rattled now, his composure gone. That's rich coming from you. At least I'm not recycling the same tired act I've been milking for 40 years. DeVito shot up slightly in his chair, his voice booming now. Tired act? You want to talk about tired? How about your fake laugh? How about pretending to be surprised by answers you already knew from pre-interviews? How about treating your guests like they're here to impress you, instead of accomplished people with their own damn stories to tell? The confrontation was spiraling out of control. The audience was silent. The cameras kept rolling. Colbert's hands trembled on his desk as he tried desperately to regain control. Colbert exhaled sharply, his voice tight. I think we need to take a commercial break. He glanced off camera toward his producers, searching for an escape hatch. Double quotes. Oh, now you want a break? DeVito barked out a bitter laugh. The second someone calls you out, you run. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Stephen, the moment things get real when someone refuses to play along with your little act twofold. The tension was unbearable. Audience members shifted in their seats, some glancing toward the exits, others frozen in uneasy fascination. This wasn't late-night comedy anymore. This was raw, unfiltered conflict, live and unedited. Colbert's composure snapped. Maybe the reason I use prepared questions, Danny, is because some guests need structure. Some guests can't handle a free conversation without turning it into their own therapy session. DeVito's eyes flashed. Therapy session. That's what you call it when someone tries to be authentic. Stephen, you're so obsessed with proving you're the smartest guy in the room that you've forgotten how to connect with people. Connect with millions every night. Colbert shot back, leaning across his desk. His voice cracked slightly, but he pressed on. Just because I won't sit here listening to you whine about the state of television doesn't mean I'm not connecting. Millions of viewers, DeVito spat. You perform for them. You don't engage. There's a difference and you used to know it. The audience was silent, the only sound the hum of studio equipment. A few phones came out, screens glowing. In the darkened rows, the crew kept filming, though several producers were waving frantically just off camera. You want authentic? Colbert snapped, his voice raw now. Fine, you didn't come here to talk about your movie. You came here for a fight to make yourself feel relevant again. DeVito's face drained of color, replaced by a dangerous calm. His voice dropped. Low, steady, relevant. Steven, I've been relevant longer than you've been breathing television air. I was making films that mattered when you were still learning to smirk for a punchline. Don't you dare question my relevance. Colbert leaned in, his words like knives. Were you making art, Danny, or were you just in the right place at the right time? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been trying to recapture something that's been gone a long time. The words hit like a body blow. DeVito's fists tightened on the armrests, his growl rumbling through the studio. You want to talk about what's been gone? Steven, integrity. Late night used to mean something. Now it's just you, preening. For Twitter likes, this isn't about craft anymore. It's your vanity project. At least I'm not bitter. Colbert snapped back. At least I am not sitting here tearing others down because I can't handle my own That was the breaking point. DeVito slammed his hand onto the chair arm with a crack that echoed through the speakers. His voice boomed. Irrelevant. You think I'm irrelevant? I've made more meaningful work in the last 5 years than you have in your entire career. The difference is I don't need to belittle people to feel important. Colbert's face was flushed, his chest heaving. You're sitting here on my stage, attacking everything I've built, and you call me the hypocrite. That's incredible. Danny, what's incredible? DeVito shot back, his voice, heavy with disappointment now, is how far you've fallen. I used to respect you. I thought you were one of the good ones. But you've become everything wrong with this business, a caricature of yourself. The words landed like a final blow. For the first time, Colbert's mask cracked into something wronger, hurt, devastation flashing across his face. When he spoke, it was low and final. Get out. The room went still. DeVito blinked, stunned. What did you just say? I said get out. Colbert's voice rose, sharp and commanding. This is my show, my stage, and I'm not going to sit here and let you humiliate me in front of my audience and my crew. DeVito stared at him for a long, heavy moment. The rage hadn't disappeared, but now something else flickered beneath it, something quieter, almost wounded. For the first time, DeVito's tone softened up with calm, but with something that almost resembled pity. You're throwing me off your show because I told you some hard truths. His voice was quieter now, but in the silence of the studio, every word landed like a hammer. Steven, this is exactly what I meant. The moment someone challenges you, the moment someone refuses to play along with your act to, shut them down. You can't handle real conversation. This isn't conversation, Colbert snapped, his restraint unraveling. This is an attack, and I don't have to sit here and tolerate it. DeVito's movements were slow, deliberate, as he unclipped the microphone from his lapel. You know what the saddest part is? Steven. His voice carried across the hushed room. I came here tonight hoping to talk. Really talk? I thought maybe we could have a conversation that mattered. But you're right, I shouldn't have expected that from you anymore. The studio was so silent, the clatter of the microphone hitting the floor echoed like a gunshot. A few audience members gasped. Colbert sat frozen, staring, his mouth half open, as if he couldn't believe what was unfolding in front of him. This is your show, Steven, DeVito said, as he rose from his chair. And it's exactly the kind of show you've made it. Scripted, safe, artificial. I hope your audience enjoys the performance. He turned and began walking toward the curtain. At the edge of the stage, for a moment, the world seemed to stop. Every eye in the studio followed him, breaths held, waiting to see if this implosion could somehow be pulled back from the brink. Danny, wait. Colbert's voice cracked, desperation bleeding through. Just wait a minute. But DeVito didn't turn, didn't slow. Only when his hand touched the curtain did he pause. The audience leaned forward, straining for the moment. When he finally spoke, his back still turned. His words cut through the air with devastating clarity. You know what the real tragedy is, Steven? You used to be brave. You used to take risks, ask questions that mattered. Now you're just another corporate puppet, reading from a script. And the worst part is, you seem to be okay with that. Danny, please, Colbert pleaded, his voice raw now. Can we just talk about this, like adults? The cameras are rolling. The audience is here. We can work this out. Slowly, DeVito turned back. His face was no longer twisted with fury, but marked by deep, unshakable disappointment. Work it out. Steven, you told me to get out of here for daring to say you've lost your way. You think we can patch that up with a handshake and a commercial break? The audience was transfixed. No one moved, no one spoke. This wasn't just television anymore. It was something deeper, an open wound, exposing a battle between two different visions of art, entertainment, and integrity. Colbert's voice broke as he tried again. I was angry, he admitted, his words unsteady. I said things I shouldn't have, but you attacked everything I've built. My show, my methods, my integrity. What did you expect me to do? DeVito stepped back toward the desk but didn't sit. He stood over Colbert, looking down with a mixture of anger and sorrow. I expected you to listen. he said simply. To consider that maybe someone who's been in this business as long as I have, might have something worth hearing. Instead, you got defensive. You shut me down. That tells me everything I need to know about who you've become. Colbert's hands trembled against the desk, his face pale, his voice cracking. Who I've become. Danny, I'm trying to do a job. To entertain people, inform them, give them something to laugh about in hard times. If that makes me fake or corporate in your eyes, then I'll live with it. DeVito's voice dropped, gentle but merciless. But can you really live with it? Stephen. Asterisk, can you really live with that? Stephen. DeVito's voice softened, almost pitying now, knowing that something which once meant real connection has been hollowed into nothing more than a product. That the people who sit in this chair leave here not as guests, but as props for your brand. The words seemed to hang in the air, heavy and undeniable. For the first time since the clash began, Colbert had no reply. His lips parted, closed, opened again, but no sound came. Silence swelled in the studio, stretching unbearably long. Thought so? DeVito murmured, shaking his head. He glanced toward the audience, their faces a mixture of shock and unease. I'm sorry you had to see this. You came here for laughter, maybe some escapement. Instead, you got two old men having the kind of fight that never should have played out under stage lights. Voices rose from the crowd. Don't go. Keep talking. But DeVito only sighed. This isn't what you paid for. And more importantly, this isn't something that can be settled with cameras pointed at our faces. Some conversations are too important to be turned into content. His eyes flicked back to Colbert one last time. Stephen, I hope you'll remember what I said. Not the heat of it, not the sting of it, the heart of it. You hold a platform that reaches millions. You can still make it matter. The question is, will you? Colbert finally managed words, though they were faint and unsteady. Danny, I don't know what to say. I feel blindsided. You weren't blindsided, DeVito corrected, his voice firm but calm. You were challenged. There's a difference. An ambush is meant to break you. A challenge gives you the chance to grow. What you do with that chance is up to you. With that, DeVito turned for the curtain. This time, Colbert didn't call after him. He sat rigid at his desk, staring down at trembling hands, while the audience remained frozen in their seats. DeVito vanished backstage, leaving behind a silence so thick it was almost physical. Seconds crawled by before Colbert finally lifted his head. His voice cracked as he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. We're going to take a break. We need to figure out what comes next. But the cameras never cut away. They lingered, capturing every flicker of doubt across his face, every uncomfortable shift in the audience, every crew member paralyzed by the weight of what had just unfolded. The confrontation had lasted barely 15 minutes, yet it had fractured something fundamental. For everyone in that studio, celebrity and entertainment would never quite look the same again.